This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my review of the Star Wars novel Queen's Peril. And I had like 3 credits from Audible, and was like, I wasn't really sure what to get. I looked through and saw these, and I was like, why not? It's voiced by Padme's actress from the Clone Wars, and they're full on bridge audiobooks. And I did have to check that for this one because my biggest complaint is that while this does cross over with Phantom Menace, it jumps to the story so quickly. It is kind of crazy, and I just had to make sure that this was actually unabridged because it felt like it was really skimming through stuff. But going through it, I think the most interesting stuff with this is the beginning where Padme is elected and she has to set up her entire handmaiden system and make friends with all these girls, and they change their names for her. So it was pretty interesting. It also explains why everyone had such similar names. But there is stuff like characters going and well, the rulers having to change their names, which really isn't something they did originally in the EU. It's fine in this, but it was really different. It was really odd while I was reading this and Cloak of Deception at the exact same time, where one is dealing with King Varuna, and that guy is complete scumbag. It is not a really major impact on this story specifically because the big parts of his story is told in Plagueis. Both that and Cloak of Deception are by James Senna, so they tie in extraordinarily well. But with it, it's really interesting to see how these different leaders, one of I don't even know what the queen before Amidala was because, and this is implied that only females can be. I think it's implied, I don't know if it's directly stated, but I'm at least getting the heavy implication that there was only allowed to be female rulers of Naboo for their elections. And then there's the previous leader, which her just wanting Naboo to not really have any connections to the other planets in their system and to go to the outside galaxy for help over them. On the opposite side, Verona was, I mean, he was completely corrupt. He was working with the Hutts, and I think it was Black Sun. It was I can't think of her name, Gardula the Hutt and Black Sun to go and try to fight off the Trade Federation and be able to have Naboo become independent alongside his own security force. And on the opposite end, there's just this queen who's like, yeah, I just want to deal with the galaxy over the planets in the Jamal sector, which is the system Naboo is in. Well, it is similar issues where the previous one is someone that Padme has to take over. The last queen, I think, steps down and doesn't run for re-election, or very easily loses this election against the other candidates, while fully through, at least a Cloak of Deception, what I'm reading, it doesn't say exactly what happens, just that Verona abdicates the throne and then is murdered. Although we learn in Plagueis that the reason is because he failed to kill Hiko Damask and feared retribution from him. And then Plagueis came in and gave that retribution by killing him. But I think it's enough of Naboo politics, and leadership for Amidala, but in this one, there's also the fact, which I was trying to get to before I went on this entire side tangent, that in the original one, everyone knew that Padme was Padme Naberrie and just used the Amidala name sort of like as a stage name. And in this one, this was her name, so people didn't know who she was, and they could try and keep who their leader actually is anonymous. And honestly, I didn't like that as much. It was understandable, but I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. I just liked the way it was before, but still, it is fine. And going through it, everything else pretty interesting. Another interesting is Captain Panaka here is someone who's at the end of his career, where in the next book after Padme is no longer queen, he retires. While it's mentioned in this and Plagueis that Panaka is the newly appointed head of security and really hasn't had experience before. Also, the handmaiden system was basically completely invented uh, for these books where it did exist before, but it was completely like revamped by Padme, while it was something that existed before when she was elected in the EU. But I'm gonna try to stop comparing the two because I have to actually get to the review of this. And as I said, not too much happens in it, which is kind of why I'm going on these tangents, but it is interesting to see you get to mainly know Sabe the most. And you get moments with all the other ones, including how Panaka recruited them. And yeah, I mean, it is pretty interesting. The story is well written, although the stuff with episode one, again, it's a lot of stuff that's skipped over, but ultimately it does work out. It gives you her perspective of some key moments in The Phantom Menace for both her and Sabe, but yeah, honestly, just going through it, as I said, I really enjoyed it. I think it was a solid book and a good start to the trilogy. Although it is the weakest one because of the fact that it mainly just skips around for a good amount of it. And it does feel like it was very, very quickly after her election, like a few days after when the invasion began, while it was at least a few months in the EU, which is not a huge difference, but significant enough. But yeah, honestly, I want to know what you think of this book. Have you read it before or heard the audiobook? And what you think in the comments, and I'll see you on the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.